Hey there, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. Russia is not doing so hot on the front lines, their summer offensive was not successful at all, and generally they are struggling at achieving their major goals. In this channel, we usually focus on big picture perspective. But today I want to do a complete opposite of that. I want to take a specific story told by a specific Russian serviceman and how he sees war from his own perspective on the front lines. Usually I would skip those because it doesn't bring the whole picture into frame, but I do feel it is helpful to keep us informed and understand what the war is like right now, right there on the ground. Let's talk about this. Telegram channel ZZZ, There Is No Change on the Western Front, that accumulates statements from the Russian soldiers, is reporting about the thought process and interview that was made by one of the mobilized Russian soldiers in his conversation with some of the other infantrymen. I recently spoke again with former assault troops and infantrymen now stationed in defensive positions. Guys from a couple of units within our formation. They told me about their marches, anywhere from 15 to 35 kilometers in full gear, depending on how active Ukrainian drones are that day. What came out of the conversation, you might ask? Well, none of the commanders ever asked whether the soldiers were physically capable of making such marches. Orders just came over the radio. Keep moving forward from point A to point B. In our division, soldiers at least moved at their own pace. In others, they were forced on under threats of being just zeroed out or executed and constantly watched by drones with no rest allowed at all. In short, commanders never bothered to learn even the basics on how to plan or conduct foot marches. That's the clear conclusion. So the infantry has been fighting on foot since the deployment in January 2023. And yet, the fundamentals of infantry tactics, not mechanized, but actual light infantry tactics, still haven't been learned, applied, or even acknowledged. So much talk about the 3.5 years of accumulated combat experience and battle-hardened soldiers, so to say. In many ways, infantry work is still a matter of reinventing the wheel, or simply being driven by blunt threats of death. There's a glimpse of what infantry combat really looks like under a total enemy dominance of the small sky, the drones. Quote, "We never knew how long we'd be sent out for, so we packed 2 or 3 1.5-liter bottles of water, 1 or 2 cans of stew, a pack of wet wipes, a few protein or chocolate nut bars like Snickers or whatever, a spoon and a knife, and the rest was ammunition. The march to the objective area takes 1 or 2 days. You eat whatever other units are at staging points can share. That's normal. They get resupplied by airdrops or by couriers. Then you go in for the assault. If you survive, you move to the holding phase. Before the drone revolution, you only had to hold for a day or two. Now, once you've taken a position, you stay there. That's your new home. You might sit on that point for 20 or even 30 days. And that was back in 2024. Now it can stretch up to 3 months. Me, the person that is talking to this guy. So how do you even survive for these 20 days? Answer. Drones drop us half-liter bottles of water, chocolates, little sausages. You're lucky, maybe a loaf of bread. Sometimes boxes of ammo too, though you rarely need much. Either you are killed or wounded during the assault or whilst sitting in your position. A dozen magazines with a few ammo tins are enough for the occasional firefight during your time there. Drones fly a few times a day, but the enemy shoots many down, and sometimes the weather grounds them completely. That's when the hunger and thirst hits. It's normal to go 1 or 2 days without water and up to 4 days without food. When you finally return, you're a walking skeleton, ribs sticking out, especially in the summer heat. Me. What is the rotation? Are you getting replaced? Them. Back in training, one commander told us, don't whine over the radio. If you're not relieved after a week, if there is no rotation, it means there is no one to send. Maybe they sent a replacement group and they got hit, or they just dig in somewhere behind the lines and refuse to come forward at all. So you wait. Eventually someone will replace you. Someday. In practice, soldiers could spend 20 to 40 days at the same point, turning from assault troops into static defenders. No contact with the family, no relief. Me. And what about Ukrainian FPV drones? Weren't they constantly hitting you? Them. They usually try to destroy you during the assault, or in the first day after taking a position, or when you're trying to pull back, whether on your own or by orders or during rotation, or if they're preparing their own assault. The rest of the time, Ukrainian drone operators act more like snipers. They target reinforcements, ammo carriers, medevac teams, mortar crews, electronic warfare units, ATGMs operators, and so on. Even lone soldiers moving in the open. So your frontline position becomes a trap for anyone trying to help you. You're more useful to them alive, as bait, than dead. I hope this gets you a little bit better perspective of how the war is like from the Russian infantryman viewpoint. I talked about this not for pity of them. I have no pity for invaders and occupiers, but just so you can understand that Russians are not very sophisticated fighting force, and they're not really doing anything that is out of the ordinary. They just have a lot of manpower that are just willing to send forward. In any case, thank you so much for watching. Continue supporting Ukraine. Trust in Ukrainian armed forces. I love you. Slava Ukraini, and I will see you next time.